In 2016 alone, there were more than 13,000 cases of child abuse and neglect reported in Franklin County. And as we all know, even one is too many. That's why the work of Franklin County Children's Services is so important and why this month is dedicated to child abuse prevention. We have Chip Spinning, the Executive Director of FCCS, with us, as well as Kristen Rost with the Ohio Children's Trust Fund, and Karen Days, who is the President with the Center for Family Safety and Healing. I want to thank all of you for being here.
Thank you for having us. Yeah.
All right, Chip, as the leader of Franklin County Children's Services, let's talk to you first about your general message to the public, especially this month as we kind of highlight child abuse prevention.
Well, this month, child abuse prevention, we continue to see more referrals. It continues to increase every year with some of the challenges that our kids are facing. Generally, our families are experiencing challenges with domestic violence, substance abuse, those kinds of things. Heroin and opiates has become a really large issue.
Big problem here,
yes.
yeah.
But the work that we do, we couldn't do it without partners like the ones we have here today and our community partners, kinship families, foster parents, and so they really lend a helping hand in helping us.
And being one of those, if anybody out there is interested, you always need people who are going to be great foster families and involved in kinship care and mentors. So go to the FCCS website, find out information, because I'm sure you guys could use as many great support systems out there as possible, right?
Right. We definitely could use more foster parents, more kinship care providers. If you wanted to be a volunteer or a mentor for our kids, that would be great as well, too.
Okay, Chip, we're going to move on to Kristen. You're with the Ohio Children's Trust Fund, and kind of remind us what work you do.
So the Ohio Children's Trust Fund is the state's sole publicly funded entity that funds child abuse and neglect prevention. So we work statewide. We work with partners like Franklin County Children's Services and the Center to provide services to families to help prevent child abuse and neglect before it starts, so to strengthen families.
So every 30 minutes. I mean, that's like such a sobering statistic that
it really
puts it into perspective, all of this. And so you have this pledge, this next 30, right? So what is this about?
Right. So when we first heard, and this is a statewide statistic, so statewide in Ohio, every 30 minutes, there's a confirmed case of child abuse and neglect. And when we first heard that, it just was too staggering for us. We kept coming back to it over and over and said, what is it that we can do? So one, we wanted to get the word out that child abuse and neglect is happening, and it's happening, as Chip said, more often with the opioid crisis. But there's something we all can do. So we're asking people in the next 30 minutes, what is it that you can pledge to do to prevent child abuse and neglect? And it can be as simple as encouraging good parenting when you see it, all the way to a huge investment of your time becoming a foster parent or a kinship caregiver. And there's a continuum of services that you can do in between. So you can, cook a meal for a family. You can donate if you have resources to any of the organizations that you see up here. So asking people to go on Facebook. We want this to become viral. To use the hashtag in the next 30 minutes and pledge what it is they'll do in the next 30 minutes and throughout the year to prevent child abuse, and then tag their friends and ask them to also pledge to prevent child abuse.
And perfect. I mean, it starts with the small steps, right? So
you
can do something simple, see how good it feels, keep on going.
Yes.
That's what we hope. All right, Karen, and you say there is a relationship, as they both mentioned, abuse and maybe, this cycle of family violence. So talk about that and how your Center for Family Safety and Healing really deals with that.
Sure, thank you. What I think is important to note is that not every child that grows up in a violent home is going to be an abuser, which, we want to allay that fear. But typically what we see is, especially in prisons, more than 70% of the male inmates, grew up in a violent home and were abused as children. And, so we see that correlation. And what we know is learned behavior is a really big issue. And so if a child is growing up in a home where the violence is pervasive, they're learning something that is really unhealthy. I mean, these days we don't have the most perfect home. There's dysfunction in some level in every home.
Right.
But when you have child abuse, it changes the whole landscape of that child's life. And so at the center, we try to be there for the kids that are coming through who have been abused, physically or sexually abused. And what we say is we're about restoring hope, because we don't say that, you know, when they come the first time, they're going to be healed. We know that the journey begins when they come through those doors, and it's hard. It's a hard road, but what we do at the center is make sure that we have all the co-located partners there that can talk to the child through one person, so the child is not being interviewed by multiple people, but the people that need to hear are there to hear their story. And so it reduces the trauma.
Okay, and that is good to know. I do want to let people know we've got next Wednesday, which is Wear Blue Day. You can also hashtag photos of that, and that's also the Child Abuse Prevention Breakfast, which is a huge deal, Chip, for FCCS, and we'll show some pictures of it. Go to the website. There are still tickets available for that. I want to let people know these are simple ways to help such an issue that we all unfortunately see every day in our lives. So thank you guys so much for being here and sharing that with us.
Thank you.
For joining us.